Adam or EposVox here, and I am in the middle of completely overhauling my entire streaming setup. I have not streamed in months up until last night at the time of recording, and we had a fantastic return to streaming. And I'm going to be doing a lot of different stream setups. You've already seen me build that RGB glowing streaming PC in the background. We've got a few more coming, and we've got a lot of streaming content in the works. With that, I'm doing a tutorial here sponsored by Nerd or Die on how I set up my insane streaming layout and overlays and all of that you all saw in my Twitch stream over at twitch.tv/EposVox. And we're going to be getting to it thanks to Nerd or Die. So link to them that tells them I sent you will be in the description below. Be sure you check it out. I am very excited for this tutorial. Alright, since today's tutorial is of course sponsored by Nerd or Die, we will be picking out and utilizing some of their presets and stream packages that you can get starting at $0. They do have some free resources on the site and some tutorials of their own, but we're going to check out some of the paid options and see what you get and how to set them up. But first we need to set up OBS. Now I am using OBS to record this tutorial, of course, but I do have a separate instance launched, and we are just going to make a brand new profile for my Twitch setup here. Actually, I have a Twitch profile. I'm going to delete it. It was a test. I don't need it. You may notice from time to time when I'm setting this stuff up, I have a lot of stupid scene collections from when I'm testing stuff, but we're just gonna start from scratch. And then same thing, new profile, Twitch 2019. I like to keep them named the same to match them up and always know which ones I'm using. Up in here to the settings. Now we are going to be doing mostly 1080p based streaming. So while my main desktop is 4K, I'm going to leave it at 1080p for now. And we are going to be streaming. I'm going to start my test streaming at 1600 by 900 and 59.94 frames per second, of course. Now, you can play around with different scaling and things like that. And actually, I am going to leave the base resolution 1080p so I can record full res recordings. But there is a difference between putting your scaling here in the video settings and in the output tab. If you go under advanced, you can actually tell it to rescale the output. There is actually a difference in that, and that if you do it in the output settings, that actually puts that workload on the computer or on the encoder versus putting it on just your graphics card. So if you're running into performance issues, it might be worth just dropping it down in here and unchecking it in output settings. I should be fine, but it's worth noting. All right, so we're going to focus on streaming settings here. I will be using X264 in this instance, although I do have another machine that has an NVIDIA RTX card that I would be using NVENC for. But for now, we're going to be using that. We're going to put CBR. It is going to be 6K minus what the default audio is 160, so 5840, I believe. Yeah, do keep in mind that max Twitch bitrate recommendation is actually video plus audio, and you can technically send 6K video. But you can run into some issues. That's fine. We're going to drop it down to medium. Actually, we're going to do fast for now, just to keep it safe. I'm going to leave the rest of these blank. Keyframe interval set to 2, because this is going to Twitch. Recording, we are going to do full resolution recordings. I'm going to set it to my dedicated recording drive. That's over here in F. Record. I'm going to make a new folder. Actually, I have a folder here called Twitch. That way I know these are specifically my Twitch settings. Now, I am going to use MKV because if things crash or whatever, I can still use the file. I'm going to set it up to record at least 5 audio tracks. And we're going to use the NVENC encoder. Default resolution, I'm going to come over here to CQP, and that's going to be 14, which is kind of visually lossless-ish. And then under preset, high quality, profile, high, and just going to leave the rest on defaults at the moment. Under audio, I'm going to leave the default track for Twitch at 160 bitrate, so I'm going to call this Twitch down mix. But then for the others, these will be my recording tracks. So I'm going to set them the highest that it will let me, which is of course 320 kilobits per second. And these will be my other settings. So we're going to have mic, desktop, console if I have a game console input, Discord, and so on. And then we are going to set up a replay buffer so I can save out specific clips a lot easier. We're going to set it to a 45-second duration and hit apply, and it will do what it can to maintain a replay buffer of 45 seconds. You will, of course, if you're using a replay buffer, need to come in here and set a hotkey for saving the replay buffer. You don't need a hotkey for starting and stopping it, but for actually saving the replay buffer, which is right here. I already have a button on my Elgato Stream Deck, so I'm going to press it. Alt F8 is apparently it. I'm going to hit apply, and we're good to go. Despite what other tutorials may tell you, partial and 601 and NV12 are the best settings when you're live streaming to Twitch. You can kick it up to 709, kick it up to full. You can run into some issues on some web browsers playing back the stream with regards to color representation. So, we've got OBS configured to live stream to Twitch. Even though we don't have anything in it, we're going to get set into that. So, we want to make a couple default scenes here. So, this is scene 1. I'm going to add this and make it desktop. And I'm just going to add a display capture. We're going to add one. It's going to be webcam. Hello. I do not have my main light on. My head is hurting. I don't want it on, so it's going to be a little dark in here today. You can see the kitty playing behind me. Hello, kitty. Now we're going to start building out our layout. We could set up some other scenes, but for now we're going to do this. So you can browse nerdordie.com. I do have an affiliate link that, well, it's not an affiliate. Well, I guess technically it is an affiliate link, but a link since they're sponsoring me to let them know that I sent you and all that good stuff. So be sure to use that if you want to go check out their stuff. You can hit shop now or check out their, top layouts here. And then they have links for their tutorials and stuff. We're going to hit shop now. And you can sort by popularity, price, or you can sort by categories because they have backgrounds, overlays, custom scripting, Twitch panels, alerts, yada, yada, yada. I've actually picked out a few that I really like. That is, of course, the Retrowave stream package, since, a lot of my channel and branding is 80s and 90s and 2000s retro stuff. This obviously appeals to me, even if I don't want to use the super cliche graphic that this is. That's overdone at this point, but I could use some of the elements. Pretty Sprite sound effects. They have some pretty cool sound effects. Then there is this cool little alert system that scrolls in the name. Just does a cool little effect with the text there. I like that a lot. I may use that. We've got these overlays and widgets that have this little kind of like pixel confetti effect. I kind of like that. And then we have this interface one, which is all like super hacker theme or something, which is kind of cool. We may use that. Now I am going to start with the Retrowave package and we will build from there. So I may not use all of these in this video. Now, when you check out a package, you will be given screenshots as to what's in it. So you can view here, okay, we've got kind of an overlay, and it's got new follower, subscriber, yada yada layouts. It's got stream starting and be right back screens you can customize. You've got different color options. You've got specific alert types you can choose, so you don't got to use this specific one. You can, bounce them around if you like. Kind of neat. You've got panels that you can use, including Photoshop files, so you can actually manually edit them yourself if you have a Photoshop compatible program and know how to use it. And then there's this cool little, I believe this is a stinger transition. And then there's lots of information, usually on pretty much all of these I've looked at, with regards to what they have, including video demos and other related stuff. Now, when you go to buy it, there's actually a few different options. You can buy everything, or you can buy just the alerts, or you can buy just the overlays, or there's free extras you can get, and you can tell it, I don't want to pay anything. I recommend supporting the people who make this and supporting Nerd or Die for distributing it, but that is an option available to you. I am going to start with the full stream package for this one, and maybe we'll bit and piece some of these together. I'm going to add it to my cart. That is the full stream package we are going to check out. Upon checking out and completing your purchase, you will be given a set of download links. You do have limited downloads, so keep track of these original zip files, because you can technically run out of them. But you will be given download files for your specific package that you chose. So for example, the Stinger and free extras are a separate download from the overlays, which are a separate download from the alerts, but you can download them all here. So I'm going to save them. 7-zip is of course free and open source and multi-platform. I'm going to right click them all, 7-zip, extract here for convenience. Not always the best way to do things, but I'll do that here. All right, we can start building our layout. So we have overlay version 1.1. There are Streamlabs OBS specific files. So for example, if you have Streamlabs OBS, you can actually just import this overlay preset, which will do a lot of the work for you. And if there's enough demand, I will do a separate Streamlabs OBS tutorial for this. I did want to say before we get too far into actual OBS setup, if you're using Streamlabs OBS, this is why people think it's a lot easier to set up, is a lot of these integrations are built in. You don't have to go to a web browser. And in a lot of these layouts that you buy, they will say if they're Streamlabs OBS optimized or not in the Streamlabs OBS folder, there's actually a .overlay file that you can import into Streamlabs OBS itself. So you go to the settings cog, you go to scene collections, and then import overlay file and find your specific overlay. So I'm going to copy my directory here, Retrowave Streamlabs preset overlay, and it's going to take a minute to process everything and figure out what the heck you just did. And wham slam, thank you ma'am. They even have a welcome screen so it can tell you to follow their guide and everything. It's really, really cool. And they have a lot of this set up already. So a lot of these steps that I show in normal OBS are already here. I'm not gonna lie, having already set up a lot of this stuff, I'm kind of annoyed that it's so easy. They make it really easy for you. You've got a PSD file for Photoshop of the specific logo options and an example of what that might look like. Pretty neat. I went ahead and opened that up in the background here. And then you have overlays in the different colors that you want, as well as the panels and some widgets. All packaged together with a README and lots of good information. Here, let's check out the README. Yeah, it's that README was warning me that, hey, I need fonts that are used here in the setup that I may not have on my machine. It tells you the terms and conditions of using it, who actually made it. You can check out their vendor-specific page, as well as installation guides, tutorial videos, and things like that, which is really handy. So I am going to actually close this so I can actually install the fonts that, you know, they suggest. And these will all be freely available fonts, although these are from a couple different websites, but DeFont seems to be the most common. I'm going to make a fonts folder in this folder just so I have all this stuff together because I will be moving this to multiple computers. I believe I already have that font installed, but just in case. All right, so for Google Fonts, if you ever encounter these are a little confusing. You hit select this font, and then nowhere else on the page does it look like you can download it. But you click here where it said whatever family selected, and then that little down arrow is for downloading. It's really weird. They do not make it obvious because it's meant to be used on the web. All right, and then once again, I'm going to browse to the fonts folder, right-click all of the zip files, and for 7-zip, WinRAR also has this option. Extract here. Ideally, it just, yeah, you have all of the TTF files, so you can go to View, Group by Type, select all of the font files. They might be TTF or OTF. Right-click and hit Install. It's that easy. Now I have all the fonts required, so we can go back here to our overlay, and I should be able to open up that Photoshop file without any major issues, assuming the fonts are still the same name. Hey, look at that. They are. All right, so we have that one, we have that one, and we have that one. I'm going to go with this one for now. I don't actually know what this is going to be used for at the moment, because I didn't read the instructions. That's why you should. You can see here the letters kind of get a little close together, so we can use Photoshop's controls to kind of fix that. Holy guacamole, not so much. And actually, all I really want to do is change these letters. Okay, so if you go into one of the overlay folders here, for example, Retrowave Overlay Default, Green, let's check out Green, and then Overlay, these are .webm files, which is a type of video format that's really easy to work with things like OBS. And then if you play them, which will play back in a free video player like MPC or VLC, you can see what they look like. So this would be where you have like your top donations and things like that. You can just add those to OBS or follow along and we will set it up specifically how they want it laid out. Before we get too complicated, I am going to set up a be right back, stream starting and stream ending and things like that, those kinds of scenes, as I feel like those are kind of important to production value for a live stream. So I'm going to make a new scene. We're going to call this stream starting. And then you will add these overlay files as media sources. So for stream starting, I want the pink screens, and there is a background one, and then the overlay one, which actually has the text, because you have a few different texts that you can throw up here. So I am going to add source, add media source. We're going to call this pink BG for background. Click OK. Then you have some options for the media source. I'm going to click browse. And what I'm going to do to make this easier on myself is click in the title bar or the URL bar here in Windows Explorer, and we're going to copy that text. And then in the OBS pop-up here, I'm going to click in there and hit paste, make it easier to navigate. And we're going to add the background. Now this will add it as a global source that you can add to any scene, which will make it a little bit easier we are going to enable looping. Make sure close is not checked. Leave it at 100% and we should be good. There we go. Nice, beautiful background screen. I love it. And then we're going to add another media source. And that's going to be starting soon text. Browse, stream starting, loop, click OK. And then you can position that however you like or make it however big you like, depending on what actual layout you want going on in your stream. So for example, I can have that there, and then we can have overlays going here, or we could add chat, something like that. I'm actually going to put that in the center for now. We're going to leave it as is. It's super simple, but we will come back to it and expand on it. And I'm going to move that scene up so it's kind of my first scene so I know what's going on. We're going to make a new scene, be right back. And then you also see in here that each of these has both a stream ending text that can play, and then it also has an offline image, which you can either just use or add that to your Twitch, as Twitch lets you just put an offline image. Actually, you can see here, it says my stream is offline, so we can add that image. I don't know why I dragged it into my media player. That's funny. Or we could add some elements to that image like I have here, which we will do later. All right, I've went ahead and recreated that for the stream ending scene as well using the default layout. So now we have stream starting, be right back, stream ending. Already looking good, already looking way better than what I used to use, which was mostly static images. So we're getting off to a good start. So if we're sticking with the overlays here, next up we have the webcam frames. So this is if you have gameplay up and you want to add your webcam on top of it and want a nice little frame for your webcam, which is really appealing. It's what most people are doing. And they have two different sizes for if your webcam is 4:3 or full 16:9. Whether you have the sides cropped off or not, you'll have to play around with stretching it if your aspect ratio doesn't match. So to emulate this, I'm going to set up a scene here because obviously I don't have a gameplay source coming in right now. Although I can make that happen. Turn on my PS4 Pro. I'm going to add a new just default source. We'll call this console. I'm going to add my capture card here. All right, so now we have a dedicated scene with this. And then I will make a console plus face cam scene. So in this scene, I will add video capture device, my existing capture card here. Okay, nice. Let's go ahead and do I have any discs in? Apparently I have the Black Ops 3 disc in. You know what? Black Ops 4 works too. It's updating. Whatever, fine. You get the idea. And then we will add another video capture. Actually, we will add the Blackmagic device, which is my webcam. But for you, it's probably a video capture device. So typically what you could do is you could just drag it over here and put it on a scene. That's fine. Hey guys, I'm playing a game. You can't really see me. Hang on. Now you can see me. That's a little better. But is that good enough? Is that really what you want? If not, then you can add one of these scenes. So I'm going to go add media source. We're going to call this webcam frame. And I'm actually going to use the 4:3 one because that is how I prefer to see face cams and webcams. Click OK. You get a nice square because you don't need to see all this extra room, all the mess in the background of my living room, unless you have a really nice set or whatever. So for this specific use case here, I'm going to add this frame over top of my webcam, and then you can position the frame wherever you like. So you can drag it wherever. It's not going to limit you. I need to... By the way, if you accidentally do that all the time like I do, if you have a source you're never going to move, click the lock button. I was so grateful they added that. So if I want to play and have my face kind of over here, because I'm always kind of looking into the frame a bit, then I can do that. I can put it, say, right here, and then drag my face cam right underneath, line it up in here, center it about where I'm going to be all the time. That's nice. Lock the webcam frame so we don't mess it up, and then hold Alt and drag in if it wants to cooperate. Sometimes it does not want to cooperate. Here. Oh, it is cooperating. It's just doing it differently for whatever reason. So yeah, hold Alt, and it's supposed to crop. For whatever reason, it's not doing the crop border like I'm wanting it to. This must be unique to the Blackmagic source. Typically, if you hold Alt on a video source and drag in from the corners, it will bring up a green border box and let you crop. You can check out my full OBS masterclass for that information. But there you go. Now my face cam is framed within this webcam frame, which you could have resized, by the way. And nice and neat here, so that it's just me. Got a nice little frame for it that matches the rest of the theme, and you're not seeing too much extra space behind me. Just me, some of my background lighting, that nice little RGB PC case back there. You get the idea. So if you go over here to your Twitch dashboard and go to channel, you can come over here to video player banner. This is where you're going to upload that offline image. I'm not going to do it just yet because I want to customize it a bit, but that's where you update it. You have up to 10 megabytes, so if you add a bunch to the JPEG, just make sure it's small enough. Which, by the way, if you do want to customize it, they do provide you all of these icons, including a PSD with the icons for you to basically type out your social media accounts or your PC specs or things like that, or if you want to use them to make your own Twitch panels. All of these are provided here for you as helpful little PNGs, which is really nice. All right, so now that we have our stream starting and stream be right back and stream ending scenes set up, we can come over here to the different folders and use the icons to create our own information panels on these pages. So I'm going to lock the background, and then we can move around the text as we see fit. Because this initial screen is pretty cool. It's saying stream starting, everything's animated and things like that. Like, that's already a step above everyone else. But if we want to go one step further, we can put this up here. By the way, if you don't like how this is moving around, you can go to settings, general, snap sources to horizontal and vertical center. And then you can snap it to other sources and edges and things like that. And so you can see it kind of hitched there as it kind of wants to lock in place, which makes your life a lot easier. All right, so we're going to add image. You got to know what you're doing first. So for example, we have about, cheer. Well, you'd use the cheers for like actual cheer emote development or whatever, but you can have your about section, Discord, Facebook, Steam profile. There's a lot of options here. So we're going to start with Discord, but since this is pink, I'm not sure it'll overlay well on the pink theme, but we will try it. So I'm going to call it Discord_pink. Click OK. Browse. We're going to come over here to the pink folder, icons, and Discord, and they do have two sizes for it. This is the default size. Yeah, you can see here, depending on where you have it, it might not be the easiest to see, but that's okay. All right, to go along with the Discord icon here, which we could make a little bigger if desired. You don't want to make it too big to get pixelated or anything. We can go plus, add a text source. We're going to call this join our Discord URL. Click OK. For the font, you want that big noodle titling that we installed with the package here. I have a lot of fonts installed, so I am actually going to type big noodle titling. And we're going to leave it on 36, and default white should be fine, although you could maybe add a pink stroke. I'm going to start with that, and we're just going to type EposVox.com/discord, if I can spell, and click OK, and we're going to pair that up nice and neat next to the Discord icon, which I have transform, reset transform. I made it too big. So 36 font goes nicely with these icons, center it up, and then you can select these two sources at the same time and move them around as desired below your text here. I'm going to put it there for now. I'm thinking like 3 at the bottom here. So we have Discord. We'll add a new text file, or new icon file, rather, image. Which ones do we want to use? We have Discord, Instagram I'd like to promote through this, and then YouTube, of course. So that works. Or I could do Twitter, but everyone knows Twitter. So I'm going to do Instagram, or actually I'll just do IG_pink. Use naming that you know what things are, but don't require a lot of text. Instagram, okay. Drag this over, lock it kind of centered, get it over here a bit. New text source. We'll call this Instagram EposVox. Select font, again, big noodle titling. Default should be fine, click OK. By the way, if you'd like to keep sources together, like the text with the icon, and move them around together without losing track of them, select them both in your sources list here, right click, group selected icon or items. And then you can call this Discord. Minimize it. I can put these together. Group Insta. And then we'll make a new group for YouTube too. I think this is pretty cool. You could make them bigger. You could add more information. I think this is pretty cool. You could even make a separate one where you kind of pop your face up when you're first starting over here or something like that. Now, if you were using the same color theming across all of your different sources here, you could actually just select these 3 groups and hit copy. And then under be right back here, for example, I can just paste them as references or duplicate. So if you do reference, then anything, actually it only let me copy one at a time, but then anything I change in one will affect the other. So if I come down here and go to Discord URL and add like some numbers to the end, then when I go to be right back, that's going to be changed. So theoretically, you might not want to do that, but if you want to be able to change the text without affecting both copies, then you can paste a duplicate. However, keep in mind the actual image source will still be the same. And so if you change this, it will still change for the other one. So a little iffy. And if you want to make sure things are lined up between scenes here, you can actually right click a group, transform, copy transform, come to the next one, right click the group, transform, paste transform, and it will put it in the exact same size and place as the other one, which is really handy. So I'm going to recreate this in my 3 scenes and we'll come back. Okay, by the way, if you're using the same color scheme or for whatever reason with your setup, you want to use the exact same icon layout for all 3 of these scenes, you can actually put these groups in their own scene and nest that scene. It's a really powerful functionality of OBS. Or you can just add the groups. So for example, if I go to new scene, I can click add group and I can choose existing groups. So I can add existing Insta2, for example, and add that back in from the other scene. Or if I want all 3 of these on the same scene, I can make a new scene, call it slide text layer. Copy these over, which you can only do 1 group at a time, which is annoying. I keep forgetting. And I'm just going to roughly slide these across. I'm not actually going to keep this. And then on your scene, instead of doing them individually, you can add a scene, and choose slide text layer, and it adds them all at once. So then you can just update this singular scene, and it affects all of these. I have an entire video about scene nesting if you're curious, but ideally you get the gist. But I'm not actually going to do that here since I wanted different colors specifically. All right, next we are going to tackle the actual overlays. If you're in a specific folder, for example, we're going to go out to the default here, overlay. You have a few different ones like I showed you before. You have the stacks, and then you have the full widths. And once again, these are WebM files, so to add it to a scene, for example, I'm going to add it here with my console gameplay face cam scene. I'm going to add to media source. I'm going to call this overlay full width. We want it to loop, and then you can choose the close file when inactive to save some memory if you'd like. Go over here to overlays. I'm going to choose full width bottom default. Click OK. Now I got this nice little layout. It looked a little goofy in the media player, but it looks really nice here. And here you can have it start to scroll in your favorite tippers or cheers or top donators or whatever. You can have a bottom overlay. But we actually don't want to do it here on this scene because then you'll have to update it every time you want to add it to a different scene. So I'm going to go ahead and remove it. This is where you want to make a dedicated scene to nest. So we're going to make a new scene. I'm going to call this support overlays. And then here we are going to add that media file. Full width bottom overlay. Again, loop. Drag it in place on the bottom. And here you can also use, say, for example, the icons to indicate like which things you're featuring. So if I want to feature my most recent subscriber, I can use the subscribe icon. By the way, if you didn't know, you can just take icons, image files, and drag them onto the canvas, and it will add them as an image source. And then if you go to properties here, it is an image source. Kind of neat. I'm going to put over here, and then we're going to add a text. Again, big noodle is going to be it, but I'm going to say top subscriber or most recent sub. And then you can drag it in, and if you need to really nudge it in place, you can use the arrow keys to get it exactly where you want. And then you have a place for it to fill that out. And then we can do the same thing for donations here. We have a star for tipping. And then for now, I'm just going to drag my name identifier here in the center. You could probably say top supporters or something like that, but you get the idea. Now I'm going to show you the benefit of scene nesting by, even though we're not done with this yet, I'm going to go ahead and go to our console facecam scene, and we're going to add this to our scene. So add scene, and then we're going to choose the existing scene, which is support overlays, and click OK. And you can see it adds everything we have here to the scene as one source, which we can mute or bring back. But that means every change we make in this scene is reflected wherever it's shown, which is really convenient. So if you don't have Stream Labels set up, log into your Streamlabs account, or there are alternative programs you could use other than Streamlabs' version specifically, but that's what I'm going to use here. And then under widgets, they have Stream Labels. It has a little introduction setup guide. I recommend watching that if you don't know how to use it. Currently only available for Windows and Mac, but Linux support is coming shortly, although Streamlabs OBS is not available for Linux yet. Go ahead and click Windows if you're on Windows like I am, and run the installer. Keep in mind, if you are running Streamlabs OBS, none of this is necessary. It is built in, but I will have separate videos on Streamlabs OBS, hopefully shortly. It does save you a little bit of time with this. Go ahead and launch it, log in with Twitch. Now you need to choose output directory. What this is going to do is it's going to make a folder full of text files that it updates automatically, and that OBS will detect and automatically change your text based on. So for example, I'm going to tell it in my documents folder to just make a folder. Actually, I have a Twitch folder here. Stream labels. I'm going to tell it to use that folder. That way it's always in my documents folder. I always know where it is. And then you get a little dashboard of your alerts and things like that. Unfortunately, this has to be running at all times on your system during your live streams in order to update in real time. So I'm just going to minimize it. Now back in our support overlays tab, we do want to add more text for our most recent subs and most recent tips. So I will add a new text file. We'll call this recent subs. And actually, I'm going to take most off of those texts. And we're just going to leave this blank. We're going to choose read from file. First, we're going to set our font and then click browse. And now we're going to go to where I just told Stream Labels to save the text files to. So documents, Twitch, Stream Labels. And we want our recent subscribers. Click OK. And I forgot this one doesn't let you do like a multiple one list. So I'm going to go ahead and take off the plural of that and just say most recent sub. Then we have the name here. We can resize it, kind of center it up a bit because some names are much longer than others, and that will be featured prominently at the bottom of our stream. Oh, it does switch. Someone else just subscribed on Twitch, seemingly while I'm recording this. No, they subscribed 6 days ago. It just had not actually finished updating yet. That's really cool. Well, thank you, Polyglot, for subscribing 6 days ago. It wasn't live yet. Thank you. And then for most recent tips, we are going to, again, add a new text file. Actually, we are going to make a copy of that one, paste it as a duplicate. This one is going to be, we're going to name it recent tips. Read from file. All-time top donators. There are other ones you can do, latest donators, whatever. We're just going to do that one for now so you can see what they are. Boom. Gives you a list. Click OK. Gives us a nice text file to work with. We're going to resize it, move it over here, nudge it where it needs to go. We have 2 donators that seemingly donated nearly the same amount twice, but that's fine. You get that. And so we added those text files, and now when we go back to our console gameplay facecam thing, it's there. Greg House 221 Baker Street, I guess is their name. I don't know what that means. Wham bam, and then you can line it up and tinker with it. It's a little bit bigger than our other text, but you get the idea. I'm not great with this stuff in terms of actual like alignment and spatialness, as you all probably know. Now, alternatively, instead of, you know, this horizontal layout, you could use the stacked one below your face cam or something like that, but you get the idea. All right, our stream is looking really good so far, but next up we have something really cool, and that is the widgets. There's a donation goal, a follower goal, and a bit goal. These are actually quick setup links for Streamlabs if you are using Streamlabs' overlay system, because these are kind of more optimized for Streamlabs. As they actually indicate on the page here, it says designed for use with Streamlabs and Stream Elements. So I'm going to use donation goal, double click. It's going to open up my Streamlabs website. We are going to create a new widget theme. We're going to call this Retro Wave Donations. Create. We're going to use this theme. You can follow the tutorial, whatever. Then we set up the settings for the goal. So I'm going to call this, I want a Nintendo, actually I'll just say Nintendo Switch, for example. Goal $300, because that's how much it is. Starting amount, 0. And then end after, say, February 28th, 2019. And go into the other settings, you can customize colors. Ideally, this should all be managed by the actual theme itself. So we're going to start donation goal, and then copy that widget URL. Now it's going to look like the default here. Don't worry. We're going to go over here to OBS. And then in your support overlays, you can make a thing, or we're just going to add it as a browser source here on our game console facecam scene here. I'm going to call this donation widget. Paste the URL, 430 width, 200-ish height usually works here. Frame rate doesn't matter too much. Click OK. Should load it up with the custom theme. This is a little, it does get hard to read when you make it smaller, so I may need to make my facecam setup a little bit bigger here. And then that will make the donation widget here fit a little bit bigger on top of it. Text might still be hard to read at that size, but you get the idea. Now you can see it over top your webcam here. Integrates nicely with the theme. Looks pretty cool. And then if you need to test it, you could either start it with a current amount, or under donations, you can actually add custom donations. I've done this a few times. My donations. You can actually add a donation manually. So epos test, LOL. How much will it be? 25.25. Save donation. Bam. Filling up the hype bar towards me getting a Nintendo Switch, for example. Now there's also a folder in the overlays folder here for your Twitch panels with Photoshop files that you can edit. So you can have ones for your hardware specs and things like that if you want to use those. Those are fairly straightforward. I'm not actually going to walk through these since this tutorial is OBS oriented. But under your Twitch profile here, if you go to your actual channel page, I do dislike that these are, like, you edit all of these in different places, but that's just me. Under your page, these are where your panels are. I'm using the free Nerd or Die ones at the moment. These are some of their default ones they released forever ago, and some of these specs need updated. I click the toggle where it says Edit Panels, and then you can add the specific images. So for example, for specs, I'm going to replace that image, and I'm going to choose the hardware one. To make it easier, I am going to drag and drop. Done. That looks a lot better. And then you can update your things, hit submit, and turn off edit panels. It's a lot more in line with the theming that we have going. So I will swap all of those out and be ready to go. Next up, we need to set up our alerts. Now you have Stream Elements ones and Streamlabs ones. And then you also have the actual WebMs yourself for just what they look like with the initial animation here with audio, which is pretty cool. You have high quality ones, optimized ones, which are just smaller file sizes, like half the size. And then you have specific Stream Elements setup links and Streamlabs setup links. So we're going to go ahead and use the Streamlabs ones. You actually have one consistent widget theme across all of Streamlabs' website. So while initially I was doing that because I wasn't paying attention, you do not want to make a new theme for your alerts and for your donation widget and yada yada. You want to be using the same theme. So whatever theme you just made when you started the donation box, you also use for your alerts. Now to test this as you're moving along, go ahead and copy that widget URL, and you can add it as a browser source to your scene. Now again, you could do this as a dedicated scene that you add to each one, or you can just add the browser source manually. Each one, we'll call this alerts. Wham bam. We're going to leave that at default for now just to see how it looks. I had to pop up the test alert box for it to work real quick here, but then you get a general idea of what it looks like. I think it's pretty cool. Again, the little triangle with the grid is, kind of cliche. But then see here, we can start adding this to our scenes here. So for stream starting. For these, I actually want this available here, kind of in the middle. Maybe make it a little smaller. Pop up right here in the center. Maybe we'll move our starting soon text up a little bit. And then we'll launch a test follow. And we can move that appropriately right there. It's got a little bit of extra headroom, so we can kind of resize a little bit, move starting soon down a little bit. Hit it one more time, new sub. Yeah, that music. Now, when it comes to cropping here, you can actually test by playing these back to see what the edges are. So, for example, I can see that that triangle is actually not supposed to be cropped off. So then when I test it, and I see that it is cropped off, and be like, wait a minute, that's not quite right. Come over here to alerts, make it a little bit bigger. We'll start by making it 800 by 800. Test it again. Perfect. Position it exactly how we want, and then we can copy it and paste it, ideally exactly as it is, to each of our status scenes here. So copy, paste reference, and then go ahead for our text. We're going to copy transform so that we can copy our where we moved them to. Transform, paste transform. I believe there's hotkeys for this. I'm just not bothered to figure it out. All right, and then we're going to test it one more time. We're going to test hosting. Okay, you can see that one goes up a little higher, so maybe we need to move it down a bit. But otherwise, it's pretty cool. Thankfully, the alerts are pretty straightforward. They have it super optimized with these shortcuts, or you can make your own using the WebM files if desired, or move it to stream elements, what have you. That's pretty straightforward. And then we have the free extras, which are the stinger transitions, which I will absolutely love, and the actual chat box, which again, you have Streamlabs quick setup. So I'm gonna go ahead and use it. Amazing. These are super easy. All right, something you may have noticed when I was setting these up is that I made the mistake of making new widget themes for every single one of these. You don't want to do that. Don't listen to Epos. Just kidding. I sometimes do like common mistakes along the way to show that, and this is totally what that was. So we're going to start with that donation theme that we were using before. So we want that to be active. I'm going to refresh here and make sure that it moves to active. We want retrowave donations. Because what happened, okay, that reset that, but then if we test alerts, where is it? Alert box. It's going to show something different. It's going to show my old alert theme because that's not in this theme. So when you're actually using these shortcuts, you need to add them to the same theme. So instead of separate retrowave alerts, donations, and chat box and so on like I did, you need to use the same theme you already set up once you initially make one. So I'm going to use my retrowave donations as a starting point for the chat box. Now I'm going to copy the chat box, and we're going to add this as a scene to our starting soon scene here. Just as an example. Chat box. It's browser source. Again, paste URL. You can adjust the height and width as desired. There's, of course, no chatting going on in my inactive stream at the moment, so I'm just going to... And before I get banned for spam, that should be showing up in the chat box, and wham bam, thank you ma'am. That looks pretty cool. So you could resize as desired to fill your gaps or what have you. Or if I turn it off here and add it to the console facecam one, browser source, chat box. Makes a little more sense over here, like. Although you don't want it blocking half your game in reality, but you get the idea. Now, if you are unhappy with the color options in this set, you can actually change some of them. So for example, in our support overlays, I can go to this the full width bottom overlay here and go to filters, effect filters, and we can do color adjustment or add an entire LUT to it if desired. Something like that. So I'm going to do color correction. We'll call this test And you can actually play with like hue shift. And so if you don't like the default color scheme, you can actually invert it a bit. So instead of, you know, blue and purple, it can be pink and orange and greenish, or green and yellowish, or more green and yellowish. You get the idea. You can fine tune it kind of exactly where you'd want it to be. And if you get it just right how you like it here and want it on the other stuff, you can actually hit copy filters. And then, for example, if I want it on the webcam frame here, right click the webcam frame and hit paste filters. And that will change that as well. So then if I go to filters, you can see before, or with, without. So before, after. And you can really get the exact look that you're going for, which I really appreciate. And despite the fact that these are technically compressed video files, it's mostly lossless as long as you're not doing anything too extreme with it. So this is kind of how I would set things up. I would change the stream labels a little bit or whatever for a traditional game streaming setup here. But I would kind of like a face cam chatting with chat layout, which I really like present here in this stream starting soon layout from this interface stream package. I really like that. I like this background here, although I don't know how exactly. I'd have to color adjust it, which is why I showed you that now. I kind of like that. You know, I like some of these elements here. It's got some cool stuff. So I want a just kind of, what is that one? Oh, that's just showing the different examples. I don't think I want all of it, but I would like to set up a kind of chatting with you guys layout here with this weird little like computer chat layout for when I'm just hanging out and chatting into the camera. So I'm going to go ahead and pick that one up because, I mean, these are pretty cheap. You've got full stream package with the source files for $30, without the source files for $20, overlays, free extras, and then you can go through and see exactly what it is. I like the idea of having even the After Effects project files, so off screen I can super go in and customize this myself. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up the full stream package, because why not? Same thing here. For example, some of my live streams will be cross-platform across Twitch and YouTube together, and maybe other platforms at some point. And so I would like to kind of differentiate which platform someone comes from. So for example, while I have all this set up for Twitch, I could then set up either like these auto alerts are kind of more neutral and less platform specific. I might set those up for YouTube just so I know that they're a little different, or maybe even the Pixel Pop ones because they kind of fit in. Or maybe I just like the event list from Pixel Pop here. I really like that. I might use that for when I show event lists. But for now, I'm going to get the interface package, add to cart. All right, so to integrate this interface stuff, I'm going to really be stretching myself here because they do not match. But just for the sake of example, I'm going to make a new scene. It's going to be called Just Chatting. I'm going to add my webcam source. I'm just going to add it as is at the moment. We're going to add a media source. Hello, media source. That's going to be webcam frame interface. We're going to want it to be looped. We want the big, large one here. Go ahead and add that. That looks really freaking nice. We kind of want it in the middle of the screen for now. And we will adjust my webcam accordingly to fit within it here. Just roughly. So already that looks really cool. I'm not gonna lie. I really like it, and the fact that that animated bit moves back and forth. This is pretty cool. And if I don't like the exact color scheme for how it matches, I can go here, effect filter, color correction. If I want it more purplish. No, oh, it didn't actually default. That makes it fit a little bit better for me for now. You have the different support bars here. I could still reuse the same ones, and I might, although that glitch effect is pretty cool. Interface chat box. Unfortunately, that is going to be a separate Streamlabs theme, and I don't think I can use both at the same time. But given that I don't actually have a real use for the other chat box so far, I kind of want to try it. I'm going to go ahead and do quick setup here, because I can always replace it. We're going to go into our retro wave. This is the new chat box. I can actually change the text color. And if I mess around with the CSS enough, I could change the background color or the actual overlay color. But for now, I think that's fine. We're going to copy the widget URL. We're going to go back to just chatting. Actually, under browser source, it should be the existing chat box. Yeah, so then we can have that going. Obviously, resize as desired. So I'm going to group up my webcam sources. And so since I want that to be taller, I can make it, say, 1500 tall by more like 400 wide. Click OK. I had that backwards. Wanted to be a little wider than that. There we go. Then we have a dedicated chat bar here, just kind of on the side. This is starting to look good. Get a nice layout going. We can add some just chatting text right up here. I'm going to go ahead and disable the filter from this. Add our alert box. Resize it to be kind of mostly down here. We'll go ahead and test that alert box. We also need to set up our Stinger transitions. We have some both from the RetroWave pack as well as the interface one that I purchased, which is actually in the free extras. There's actually quite a few here, so I'm going to play the muted ones. So you've got these kind of grids. So that's from the RetroWave, and then the interface here, which you can customize with the After Effects file if you purchase that, is that glitch transition, which I'm definitely going to use both. So to do that, you need to go to where it says Scene Transitions, add a transition, Stinger. We'll call this RetroWave Pink. Then you need to find the file, which is going to be complicated. So RetroWave. We're going to use the pink one. Now you need you can set whether you hear the audio or only your stream hears the audio. I'm going to leave it just the stream. Fade out to transition point. So you can crossfade the audio or just fade it out and in, and then you can choose the time or the frame at which point the actual cut between scenes happens within the transition. So you kind of just got to figure that out by playing it back. It's 4 seconds long. You can see it happens there, but that doesn't give you frames. So you'll have to either play around with it or open it up in a video editor and try to go frame by frame for it. So I'm going to say if it's 30 FPS and it was like 1 second in, I'm going to say like 35 frames. We're going to start with that. And then we're going to switch. That was a little too soon. So I'm going to change that. Instead of 35, we'll do 45. Go from there. A little too soon. So maybe we'll just do straight 60. Maybe my media player was playing it wrong. It doesn't like WebMs. Yep, 60 seems to be perfect. So halfway, at the halfway point, that's probably going to be pretty common with these. That's when it fills the screen and is safe to cut without showing you. And so then you can add another one. So I'll call this Stinger Interface Glitch. And then when we change this one, that one's a little more complicated to figure out the frame point, but you get the idea. And then, assuming you don't want that obnoxious thing playing every time, but just the specific scenes, you can leave it on, like cut, for example, and then you can set up, for example, when I'm switching to just chatting, I can go over here to Transition Override and choose that glitch. So then if I go to, say, my desktop, it's normal, but then come back to just chatting, it's going to use that, which again, I got to get the timing right, but you get the idea. And then there's actually an OBS plugin. I don't know if I have this pulled up easily accessible here. There's a plugin here called OBS Transition Matrix, which actually lets you customize, like if you're coming from scene A to scene B, use this transition, otherwise use this transition, and can let you get a lot more specific with how you're using it. So I haven't dug into this yet, and I'm very excited to, but this will help alleviate some of those issues where you don't want really long transitions going. And then, for example, console plus face cam, I want that to be that one. So come over here, that'll do that transition. Back over with this one. Back over with this one. You get the idea. And then the last step would be to set up your Elgato Stream Deck or whatever method you have for controlling hotkeys and sources and switching between things so that you can best, switch on the fly without having to fumble with OBS. I use the Elgato Stream Deck, so I just pull it up. I'm using the Mini on this computer and add specific OBS scenes and sources for switching between them. And then I also have a specific source that I wish to mute. You do need OBS open while you're setting this up, and then you're good to go. I have lots of tutorials up on the channel about the Stream Deck specifically, if you're looking for more information on that. And here you have it, a pretty high quality, pretty awesome streaming setup that has integrated alerts and social media widgets and things still not perfectly aligned, but you get the idea. Awesome animations, much more polish, and a much higher tier user experience than, well, these are my blank scenes, for example, but than your typical basic PNG stream layout would provide, with a lot of different options, a lot of range of customizability, some easy setup with the quick setup links for Streamlabs, and a lot of options available to you. And I am pretty stoked. Clearly, I'm not 100% finished with this yet, but this is the general idea I'll be going with for my streaming setups, and I am so freaking excited. I hope you guys are too. I will have some more streaming content coming soon here, sponsored by Nerd or Die for this video at least, and I do have some really cool streaming builds, especially with this theming, coming very soon. Go check out Nerd or Die with my link in the description down below. Check out these for yourself. The fact that they provide you with source files if you pay for them, Streamlabs setups. If you're using Streamlabs OBS, it's actually just a single one-click overlay setup. This stuff is really awesome, and I've never been so happy with a streaming layout, and there's still a lot more work to do overall to get it to the final state, but this is how you use the files and start setting it up for yourself, and it's pretty freaking cool. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you found this video helpful, hit the like button down below, subscribe for more tech education, let me know, and streaming guides, and let me know in the comment section down below if you have any questions. I'm EposVox, and I'll see you in the next one. Yeah!